What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Cage My IQ. As always, I'm your host, D-Bake. Joining with me, as usual, is my co-host, James DiLullo. How's it going, James?
It's going, man. How's it going with you?
It's going really good. I have no complaints here. But as always, you know why we're here. We're here to preview UFC Fight Night, which this week it is headlined by Paulo Costa versus Marvin Vettori. This is a fun main event that I'm looking forward to, and this is the last of the Fight Night run because next week we're going to get into a UFC pay per view, which we haven't
Yeah,
seen in over 2 months almost. So we got that to look forward to. But what did you think of this fight card when you first saw it announced?
I like this fight card. It's about time we see Paulo Costa back in the octagon.
Yeah,
Although we're recording this earlier in the week, so there's a chance that he could still pull out. Might have had a little too much wine, but
yeah,
he's got a lot to prove, and I think that we'll get to that a little bit later. But in terms of the other card, the rest of the card, I really like it because it's a lot of familiar fighters that I'm familiar with, but also a lot of brawlers.
yeah.
This is going to be like a stand and bang card this week, so I'm very excited for it.
And I hope no fights get canceled because I feel like one or two main card fights get canceled each week now. So
I
let's
know.
hope this is the one that stays intact because I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, this is probably one of the best, in my mind, one of the best cards of the last few cards that we've broken down, um, at least in terms of lineup.
But before we get going, as always, this is Cage My Q, the best place for MMA content. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch at the handles to the left. Of course, we're partnered with the Fighters First Network, so if you can, go over to Fighters First on YouTube, hit the subscribe button on the channel, also hit the notification button so you never miss any of the content that comes out. And then please, if you can, hit the like button on this video. We'd really appreciate it. It helps the channel get views and get everybody to notice all the content that we put out. And then, of course, look later in the week as I put out my DFS by Cage episode for this week. It's always a struggle to figure out what six fighter lineup that I'm going to do week to week,
Oh
especially with
yeah.
all the fights getting canceled. So I'm going to start putting it out a little bit later in the week, Wednesday or Thursday now instead of Tuesdays. So keep a lookout for that in the next day or two, as always. And of course, we have merch at with the Fighters First Network now. So all you got to do is go to fightersfirst.shop, check out the collections that we have from the Legendary Collection, Art of MMA Collection, and then even the Tune Up Crew with Brandon Catino. And then, of course, I got to mention our collection, the Cage by IQ collection. All you got to do is go to fightersfirst.shop, scroll down to the Cage by IQ collection, and check out the shirt that we have in 3 different styles, and then the hoodie we have out. We're thinking of new ideas to do in the future that we have coming out anytime soon. So look out in the future for the new merch that we'll be coming out with. And then definitely let us know what you think of the shirt if you buy it. And then we'll give you a shout out on next week's show, as long as you let us know in advance. But of course, let's get started with the preview of the week. The first fight that we have on Tilt is a light heavyweight matchup between Nicolae Negumereanu versus Ike Villanueva. Nicolae comes in at 10-1 and is the minus 220 favorite, whereas Ike Villanueva comes in at 18-12 and is the plus 180 underdog. In this fight, Nicolae likes to throw the straight right or counter two. He likes to throw heavy kicks like the lower calf kick and body kicks. He tends to telegraph his strikes too often. He likes to drive the double leg takedown along the fence, and when he gets you down, he looks to get on top and throw heavy ground and pound. He needs to improve his BJJ. He has poor takedown defense and get ups, and he needs to work on his mechanics. Whereas Ike Villanueva likes to fight on the front foot and throws a lot of combinations. When he gets inside the pocket, he tends to lead with the left hook, and he always follows with a straight or a counter right. He tends to keep his head on the center line, and his chin is usually good, but he needs to improve his cardio but he does pressure his opponents well. And lastly, he tends to not check leg kicks. So, Jim, what do you think of this fight, and who do you have winning?
This is a good matchup. I actually have Nicolae winning this. Um, both guys like to stand and bang, like you said, but both are really hittable. Nicolae absorbs 5.73 punches per minute, and Ike, I mean, this is probably the biggest number I've seen breaking down these stats, 7.88 per minute, which means, again, they're both very hittable. And Ike doubles the volume with 4.28 versus 2.73. But
Yeah.
with this fight, I was thinking like I don't see Nicolae shooting for a lot of takedowns in this one. With Ike being so hittable and moving forward, there's not going to be a whole bunch of opportunities for Nicolae to go and shoot for those takedowns. So I went back and I looked at the Ike Villanueva's last few fights, and he puts himself in a lot of tough spots. The cardio is definitely a big kind of chink in his armor. And at times when he gets backed up, he seems to get pieced up on the side of the cage. Plus, with this fight, I look at the reach advantage. Nicolae has a 5-inch reach advantage, which I believe he's going to be able to use to keep
Yeah.
Ike at bay. Using those leg kicks too, as like you said, Ike doesn't check leg kicks very often. So on a combination of a 5-inch reach advantage, not checking leg kicks, and a suspect gas tank, I'm going with Nicolae. I'm not going to pronounce his last name because I don't want to disrespect him. With the second round KO.
One thing that you got to think in there, you mentioned it vaguely, is the heavy kicks that Nicolae throws, and
Hmm.
with the fact that Villanueva has been prone to getting hurt by the leg kicks in the past. You look at the last fight; that was one of the things that slowed him down, was the fact that he likes to bum rush into the pocket and just throw caution into the wind, and he usually starts to tire out, and then he was getting leg kicked. And
Hmm.
I feel like in this fight, what's going to happen is Nicolae is going to try and keep the distance. He's going to throw those heavy kicks to the legs of Villanueva, and over time, that's going to have a lot of effect on a guy like Villanueva who likes to put a lot of pressure on his front foot. He's just going to
Hmm.
keep on getting pieced up with there, and what's that going to wind up doing is he's going to wind up having to, like he did in the last fight, switch stances. That's exactly what he did against Pragnio, which changed the fight. He had to wind up
Hmm.
switching stances, and it took a little power off of his shots because he had to switch sides.
Yeah, it
And
looked awkward.
what's gonna happen is Nicolae is gonna wind up doing that, make him having to switch sides because his leg kicks are heavier than Pragnio's, and then that's when he's gonna shoot for the takedown because then
Okay.
you're going to be on your weaker side and it's going to leave you prone to the takedown because you're not going to have all that forward pressure to defend it. And then he's going to take him down, do a little bit of ground and pound. It's going to wear him out. And I think what's going to happen is it's he's prone to those shots, and it's either he's going to take a lot of damage and lose by decision, or I could see a situation where he gets knocked out in the second round because he's taking too much, because he's going to not be able to support his front leg because he's going to be do what happened last time, and it's going to get him to a point where he just kind of gives up and then
Yeah.
winds up getting knocked out. But in this one, I got Nicolae Negumereanu by unanimous decision. But I do see I see a shot at him beating Villanueva by second round knockout.
Okay, so my pick. So we're on the same page. One thing I do know is Ike Villanueva never puts on a not entertaining fight.
Yeah,
He stands in there and he goes down on his shield. Problem is he tends to drop those hands pretty early in the
yes,
second round, which is going to be a little bit, if not a major disadvantage in this fight.
exactly
Even
what happened
though
last fight too.
Yeah, even though Nick only throws like two per minute, but I feel like he's going to increase that volume. And leg kicks are huge. Like this is going to be a lot of leg kicks in this one.
It's just like I said before. That's what changed his fight against Pragnio was the fact that
Absolutely.
the leg kicks forced him to change from I think one stance to another, and then he just couldn't get going from that side. Like he can do both, but he's not very keen on switching the stance,
Yep.
but he had to because of all the damage he was taking. And I hope he trained a little bit on that, knowing that that Nicolae is a guy that likes to throw heavy kicks. So he
Yep.
might not throw the volume, but when he hits him, it's going to hurt. And he's
Yep.
going to try and do that often early in the first round.
Yeah. Power over volume.
Yep. But let's move on to the second fight on the main card. We have a welterweight matchup between Dwight Grant versus Francisco Trinaldo. In this fight, Dwight Grant is 11-3 and is the plus 100 underdog, whereas Francisco Trinaldo is 26-8 and is the minus 120 favorite. Grant is a fighter with a background in BJJ and Kung Fu. He likes to use the jab, left hook, and 1-2s. He likes to divvy up, attacking the head and to the body. He throws lower calf kicks and body kicks. He has good striking defense and decent takedown defense. He likes to go for the double leg takedown and the body lock into leg trips. And he has good cardio and a good pace. Then you have Trinaldo, who likes to use a southpaw stance and always looks to use the outside foot for the left strikes. He loves to get in the clinch, go for takedowns, and get the fight into his territory. He's very durable for his age. He needs to improve his takedown defense and isn't good on his back. And decision is his path to victory. Jim, what do you think of this fight, and who do you have winning?
Well, first, I think Dwight Grant has one of the best fighter nicknames I've ever seen, the Body Snatcher. I think that's
Yes.
phenomenal, number one. And I actually have him going to take this fight. I'm going with Dwight Grant on this one. Grant and Trinaldo throw about the same amount of volume, which is about 3 per minute. They're both semi-accurate, and they both have about the same striking defense.
Yeah.
Like you said, Trinaldo shoots for more takedowns, about one a fight, or one a fight. But Grant trains AKA, which we know is synonymous for their wrestling. So you can't walk into AKA and not practice wrestling. So his wrestling is good. He's got 71% takedown defense. So I really think that this is Grant's fight to win. The one thing that stands out, and this is one thing that like I really like to look at when I'm breaking down my notes, is the reach advantage, because I think that
Yeah.
that's a huge thing. Like we've talked about this, and how many fights have we heard about John Jones' reach advantage at light heavyweight? It's phenomenal. It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Grant has a 76-inch reach, 6 inches longer than Trinaldo's, and he switches stances often, which is going to cause some problems for
Yeah.
Trinaldo, who fights out of the southpaw. So with this fight, I'm going decision. I don't think it's going to be Trinaldo. I'm going Dwight Grant by decision. Decision is the way for this one.
I'm going your way with the Dwight Grant for the fact that he has a lot more weapons at his disposal. Like I
Yeah,
said, he even has that kung fu background on top of
love it.
the BJJ, and he throws the different style punches and kicks. Like I said, the jab, left hook. He does the 1-2 combinations, and then he has the low calf kick and the body kick. So like he has a lot of options to go from fighting
Hmm.
from distance with the style. And then the one big thing is that he's good at takedown defense, and I think
Hmm.
that's what Trinaldo's going to try and use to go after him. And I think he has what it takes to defend it well. I think he might be taken down once or twice, but when you can fight from distance and throw a lot of different things at your opponent and get the volume up, it's going to be a good night for you as long as you don't get knocked out or taken down.
For sure.
And I think he's going to keep the distance, rack up the volume. I'm going to get kind of feisty, and I'm going to go with the second round knockout by Dwight
Ooh,
Grant. I think he's going to be
nice.
able to catch him because let's not forget how old Trinaldo is. He's up there in age,
Yeah.
and I don't think he has that much longer fighting. And I think Dwight Grant still has that last fight in his mind where and that a lot of people think that he should have lost because he won by split decision in that fight, and a lot of people think he shouldn't have won. And I think he wants to erase that out of everybody's mind. And a good way to do that is to get that knockout victory over his next opponent, Trinaldo. So for this one, I got second round knockout by Dwight Grant.
Yeah, Trinaldo's 43, man. It's crazy that he's
Yeah,
been fighting forever. But like the one thing that sticks out to me is the numbers.
yeah,
120 favorite. That's not what I was expecting when I saw this matchup. It shows that, in my mind, the odds makers are going on the side of the referees as of like the current trend where takedowns are whether you do something with it or not are held to a
yeah.
higher standard than control time sometimes. So I think that that's where the numbers are. I'm looking to see if those numbers are going to change closer to the fight. But yeah, I mean, this is Dwight Grant's fight. He has to use that kung fu background. If he doesn't come out to kung fu fighting, it's a travesty. And two, he's got to add on the volume. He throws a low amount of volume at times. And if Trinaldo is the master at going to decisions, Dwight Grant has to beat him at his own game.
Hmm.
So he has to put that pressure on and add volume.
Yeah, he definitely has to let it go and then just throw it at him. He can't just sit and wait back like he likes to at times.
Yep.
Like he shows flurries where he lets it go, but he has to be more consistent with it. And I think this is the perfect fight to do so.
Yeah, this is gonna be a breakout fight for him, I believe.
Yeah. Yep. But let's move on to the third fight on the main card. We got a featherweight matchup between Alex Caceres going up against Seung Choi. Caceres is coming in at 18-12 and is the plus 230 underdog, where Seung Choi comes in at 10-3 and is the minus 280 favorite. I messed that up right there on the screen. But Caceres is a fighter who is technical in his striking and likes to move backwards and lateral. He is a southpaw. He has good submission game predicated on catching opponents off guard. He has subpar striking defense considering he always goes for the stoppage and throwing offense instead of playing it safe. He has a good striking and good grappling. He has a background in BJJ, Muay Thai, and karate. He has great footwork. He uses angles well with striking and has a so-so chin. He needs to clean up easy mistakes and needs to defend strikes better. He has good cardio and good pace. Whereas Choi likes to use fundamental style boxing with jabs and straight right. He has quick movement while striking. He has nice kicks that he added to his moveset. His head tends to not move, so he doesn't avoid shots as much. He looks for trips to get takedowns and likes to defend takedowns well. He tends to go into the clinch way too much rather than stand and strike. His cardio is really good, but he needs to keep improving his takedown and defense. Jim, who do you like, and then who do you have winning?
So this is a good matchup between two guys who really know how to pick their shot. I actually have Caceres winning this, but I think it could really go either way. Caceres, like you said, has a great ability to strike and move and does a
Yeah,
good job adding up the strikes at times, where Choi has knockout power and also has good takedowns because of those trips. Um, I expect Choi to look for the takedown, hunt for those trips. But Caceres, like you said, background in BJJ, he's good on the ground, so there's a threat there. We've seen Caceres struggle at times on the ground, and his takedown defense has improved. I think the last person who really gave him some trouble on the ground was Chrome Gracie, and
yeah.
we really haven't seen him. Like I don't even know if he's fighting anymore. We haven't seen him in a really long
No,
time. Again, I think that this is going to be one of the closest fights. But I'm going with Alex Caceres by decision. And like when I was breaking down these fights, starting to break them down and doing my notes, um,
yeah.
this is the start of the like, oh my God, these guys and gals are like evenly matched. So I'm gonna ride with the underdog back to back with Alex Caceres by decision on this one.
This was tough because Alex Caceres, he's been in the UFC for a long time. You just
Hell yeah,
don't think of it because he's still kind of young for how long he's been there.
yeah,
But then you look at a guy like Sung Woo Choi and his last fight against Jordan Arosa, who just had a great performance against Jordan a
yeah,
month ago, goes in there and knocks out Arosa in the first round, and I think the
yeah.
first
Troy's
minute.
dangerous.
Like his boxing is very quick, and he moves his hands fast. Like you got to watch out for those hands when he throws those power punches. It's going to be interesting because the contrast in style
Yep.
is great because what a way to combat that boxing and kind of like a karate style that Caceres has, where he can move
Hmm.
around into different movements, and he's very technical. He can hit you from different angles, and he's southpaw on top of that. Yeah, and he has good cardio and his movement, so he can
Yep.
combat everything that Troy does. It's just that what's going to happen first is he going to rack up the volume on Troy, or will Troy knock him out? Because we do know that Caceres' chin is iffy at times, and
Yeah.
we
I mean,
know,
he's been in the game for a
yeah.
while, like you said.
So all it takes is that one shot by Troy to end things with Caceres, but then Caceres can piece them up, rack up the volume, and easily win by decision. If
Yeah.
Troy can't get that boxing going, because you got to get in range for that. And with that, I'm gonna swing and just throw things on out the window and go with Troy by first round knockout. And
Yeah.
I just
Yeah,
feel like he's
man.
going to be able to hit him because he's going to be able to get inside early. And then once he hits him, I think he knocks him out because we saw that with the Rosa, a guy that uses his reach, like so you could fight from distance. All it takes is one shot, and I don't think Caceres has that great of a chin. And I think he needs to improve his striking defense because that's been a thing on him. And I think Troy will expose that and knock him out in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not mad at your decision. I can
Yeah,
totally see that happening because Caceres at times gets heavily confident in his hands and stands there and tries to bang.
yeah.
The thing is, like, it's been weird with Alex Caceres lately because of like the matchups. He's either been pitted up against like Chrome Gracie, Chase Hooper, so like the gatekeepers, but then he's getting like short notice opponents like Kevin Kroom. So like, I didn't like know where to go with this one because this is just a this has
It's a
been
different
booked for a
style.
while.
It's a
For
different style
sure it
fighter.
is.
Yeah, he's going from a grappler and wrestlers to a boxer striker who can knock you out. So it's
Yeah, who's
like
a killer.
he can he against the grapplers and whatnot. He can fight his fight and just easily win by decision, and then
Yep.
he's the one who's going to knock him out. But now he's going up against a guy who has the advantage in striking power wise. He just doesn't have by the volume that Caceres might do because Caceres could
Yeah.
do different things, whereas Troy is kind of predicated on his boxing and his
Yeah, for sure.
combinations. But that's why I'm leaning towards Troy is the fact that he has that knockout power, and I think he can avoid shots by Caceres.
Yeah, I mean this was and is still my sleeper for fight of the night.
Yeah,
If the main event weren't the main event, I think that this is the fight of the night because Choi, man, Choi is a killer. He's like one of those upcoming guys. It's kind of like
yep,
another like little gatekeeper situation for Alex Caceres, and he thrives in that. So we'll see where he goes with this one. But this was definitely a very one of the toughest ones for me to pick.
yep. But let's move on from this fight to the fourth fight in the card. We have a women's bantamweight matchup between Jessica Rose Clark going up against Joselyne Edwards. First, Jessica Rose Clark is coming in at 10-6 and is the minus 130 favorite, whereas Joselyne Edwards comes in at 10-3 and is the plus 110 underdog. First, you got Clark, who's a fighter who has a boxing style background. She has power in her strikes and always throws combinations. She likes to put in good volume in her fights and usually uses the jab, 1-2, and the hooks. She also has a wrestling background. She likes to pressure forward against her opponent and looks for openings for a double leg takedown or a body lock into leg trips. She has a good pace and she has good IQ. Whereas Edwards is a taller fighter with a Muay Thai background who likes to fight from range. She likes to throw the jab and the 1-2 and 2-1. She likes to use the leg kick, body kick, and lower calf kick, but she also uses the front kick from time to time in certain fights. She needs to work on fighting inside the pocket, but she has good cardio and good pace. Jim, what do you think of this fight? And then who do you have winning?
Yeah. So remember when I said the Caceres and Choi fight was a close fight to pick?
Yeah.
Well, this is closer. These two ladies are so evenly matched on the feet, and both have knockout power. I think it's like something like 10 to 12 knockouts combined for
Yes.
these two ladies. I'm familiar with Jessie Rose Clark more than Edwards. I'm a big fan of Jessica Rose Clark, but Edwards has the height and the range, so statistically, I kind of lean towards that. She's got a 70-inch reach versus a 64-inch reach of Jessie Rose Clark. But when I looked at common opponents, I looked at both of their fights with Sarah Alpar, and Rose Clark stopped her pretty early, while Edwards went to the split decision. It was close, but she went to the split, and she lost that fight.
Yeah.
So this fight led me to go with my gut, and I went with my gut last week. And I'm not. This is not a humble brag, but I went with my gut on Andrei Arlovsky, and he won. So I'm going to go with Jessica Rose Clark. One, because I'm a huge fan of hers, and two, I think she's going to get the decision, and this is a big win for her.
If you look at one of the last people that Edwards fought in the octagon, look at Cara Rosa, who's a similar
Yes.
fighter as Jessica Rose Clark, and Cara Rosa just demolished her and just
Yeah.
beat her up. And with Edwards, it's just a matter of can she keep the distance and throw those leg kicks and the shots from a distance because she's going to be the taller fighter, of course.
Yeah. With that reach, you
And
would think that that's easy.
yeah, yeah, but she's had trouble keeping the range.
Yeah.
And what Rose Clark can do is get inside the range, throw those boxing combinations, and then take her down. I think she's going to try and time those leg kicks to where she can use that to take her down, either
I
catch the
agree.
leg or just catch her off balance and then drive her down. And that's where she's going to be favorable because she has pretty decent ground and pound. And then even not, she might let Edwards get up and then clinch her up and then fight in the clinch and fight up close in the pocket where her boxing is going to be very favorable against Edwards. I really don't see a knockout in this one at all, but I think with the subpar takedown defense and the limited fight inside the pocket, I got Jessica Rose Clark by unanimous decision. If Edwards can somehow get the fight and keep it distance wise, I could see a situation where Edwards can win by unanimous decision by just keeping the distance. I just don't see that happening, and that's why I got Jessica Rose Clark by unanimous decision. I think she'll rack up the volume inside the pocket. She might take her down one to two times and
Yeah.
get a little bit of ground and pound and control time on her, and then just I think that's going to be the game plan, and that's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, Edwards has in the UFC a 37% takedown defense.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's pretty telling right there. But again, she only has two fights in the UFC. To your point about, going the distance, we both have Jessie Rose Clark by decision. If you look at like their average time of fights, it's, Edwards is full 15 minutes and Jessie Rose Clark is about 14:52,
Yeah.
right? So let's call it 50. Let's call it 15. We'll round up. So yeah, this is definitely like this is your if you're looking at all these fights, this is your definite decision in my opinion. And now
Yep.
watch, I'll be wrong. Ground and pound TKO first round, Jessie Rose Clark, like she did Sarah Alpar, but it feels good to be right sometimes, but I'm usually wrong. And the
Yep.
comments let me know. The comments definitely let me know.
Yep. But let's move on from this to the co-main event of the evening. We got a lightweight matchup between Grant Dawson going up against Rick Glenn. Grant Dawson comes in at 17-1 as the minus 330 favorite, whereas Rick Glenn is 22-6-1 and is the plus 260 underdog. Dawson likes to move forward and push you against the cage. He has a nice inside calf kick, and looks to get his opponents to the ground. He tends to not set up his power shots, and he comes inside the pocket recklessly. He likes to shoot for single leg takedowns out in the open and also looks for double leg takedowns. He looks for the back when on the mat and is heavy in mount. He likes to use half guard a lot, and he has a nice cross face he uses to pass guard. He will lock in the body triangle on the back to keep position. He likes to keep constant pressure and needs to watch out for guillotines as he is shooting for takedowns, and he doesn't react to strikes well, and his chin is subpar. Whereas Rick Glenn has a good length, but likes to fight in the pocket more often. He likes to throw high kicks, body kicks, and straight left. He likes to get into the clinch and throw knees to the body and elbows to the head. He tends to be reckless when closing distance. He's very durable and constantly puts out volume and pressure. He has great cardio and a good pace, but he has subpar striking defense, and he likes to go for double leg takedowns on his opponents. Jim, what do you think of this fight, and who do you have winning?
I love this matchup, and you know me. I love the Glory Camp, so
Yeah,
really big fan of Grant Dawson. You got the striker versus the grappler, and two guys who are always in the fight, regardless of what's time left on the clock. I have Grant Dawson winning this fight, and I think it's because of his constant takedown pressure. Glenn is going to try and keep the fight standing because of
yeah.
Grant Dawson's constant pressure. But I think I see Dawson getting Glenn down and getting a rear naked choke in the second round. Fairly easy. Are we on the same page? You're shaking your head. No, are we on the exact same page?
No, we're the exact same thought process there,
Oh, nice.
and the same round two rear naked choke submission, all the same right there.
Damn. Easy
I just
notes.
think, yeah, I was just thinking the fact that he's going to constantly coming from that fight camp there. You know who the coach is there. You know the
Yep.
concept with everybody there. It's all about wrestling. It's all about constant pressure, getting the fight to the ground, the transitions, taking the back. If you
Yep.
can't take the back, just stay in front and do ground and pound. And I feel like Rick Gunn's the type of guy that's going to want to, he might take chances. And when he takes chances, it's going to put him vulnerable for the takedown. I could see anywhere from 2 to 3 takedowns just in the first round. And
Yep.
then I could see a fourth one in the second just because of that, because he knows he's going to have to take chances to attack that chin of Dawson, because Dawson does have a subpar chin. So that's
Yeah.
something
It's
something to
iffy.
think of, something to think of. And I think because of that, it's going to leave himself open at certain times, and Dawson's going to feast on that. He's going to be able to avoid a couple shots and then take him down. He needs to keep him down because sometimes his opponents can get up right away.
Hmm.
But I feel like in the second round, when he has put a little bit of wear and tear on Glenn's going to try and get up, and that's when you're going to see Dawson transition to the back. As he's
Get
getting
the
up,
neck.
he's going to get the neck, and then he's going to submit him with the rear naked choke. So with that, I got the same thing. I got round two submission by Grant Dawson via rear naked choke.
Can't argue your points. Yeah, we're same brain length on this one. So on to the main event.
Yeah, but one factor I want to throw out there before the main event, there is that option. You know how I always do that other option
Don't do it.
that Rick Glenn could win by first round knockout just
For
because of the
sure.
fact that the chin. But I just think it doesn't happen. I think just the experience, even though he has that 28, 29 fight experience. I think Grant Dawson has the bigger UFC experience, and I think that's going to pay dividends in this fight where he avoids the shots and he gets the fight to the ground at all
Yeah.
times, and he's going to have the bigger control time, and that's why
Yeah,
I'm
and
going with the submission.
yeah, he shoots for about 4 takedowns per fight. So, we're talking like 4 takedowns first 2 rounds, and that's where it's gonna end at this point. But and Grant Dawson doesn't really let it go to the judges. Like that's the thing.
No,
Like he averages about 2.5 rounds. So yeah, this is gonna be a good fight. I love this as the co-main event. When the card was released, I really didn't know where the co-main event was going to be. Like I didn't know if it was going to be Choi and Caceres, if they were going to feature, Ike Villanueva. I had no idea where they were going, but I love this as a co-main event. This is a great co-main
and Grant Dawson's the guy that he's a rising guy on the rise in my
for
opinion
sure.
because it saw the last fight. I think he won with like 2 seconds left in the
Yep.
round, and
Yeah.
just how. Just like you said, he's the guy that doesn't like it to go to decision. He wants to be flashy. He wants to get the knockout or the submission. And I think
Yep.
this is the perfect time to showcase his ground and submission game because, just like I said, the guys at that camp. This is what they live and breed every day is
Yeah.
is doing that, and I think that happens here. on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, why do you think a guy like James Gallagher comes over from Ireland, leaves SBG, and comes over
Yeah,
and starts working with James Krause? He's not that SBG's a bad camp. Like, come on, that's one
no,
of the best. But he comes to Glory to work on that BJJ, that wrestling, that cardio. Like their cardio is insane at Glory.
yeah.
I mean,
SBG is all about boxing, so you got to
yep,
add something to that. So he already has that. He gives props to them for
yep,
developing his boxing part. So now he has to go over and now develop this and to add to that, and it makes you just a more polished fighter. That's why you see fighters start out somewhere, and then when they have a weakness, then they move somewhere else
yeah,
to turn that weakness into a strength. Because it's a sport that you always got to develop. You always have
yep,
something to improve on. You can't
for
just
sure.
stay stagnant. And especially here in MMA, you got guys constantly evolving, constantly training in three, four different aspects now, and you
Yep.
can't just be one dimensional now.
Yeah, look at Sean Strickland, right? He
Yeah,
travels up and down California
yeah,
in some of the best gyms in the world, just working on different parts of his game so he can become that MMA Swiss Army knife.
yeah. But move on from this main event to the main event of the evening.
Yes, sir.
We got a middleweight matchup between Paulo Costa going up against Marvin Vettori. Paulo Costa comes in at 13-1 and is the plus 120 underdog, whereas Marvin Vettori comes in at 17-5-1 and is the minus 140 favorite. Paulo Costa is a fighter who is bigger for the division. He likes to move forward and be aggressive, but he has since adopted sitting back on his back foot and throwing from his lead shoulder. He throws straight strikes and loves to use the left hook, jab, and overhand strike. He leans back to avoid strikes and has good durability and pace. He is trained in Muay Thai, wrestling, and boxing. He isn't afraid to attack the body. He likes to get his kicking game involved where he throws snap kicks, roundhouse kicks, and body kicks. He needs to be more disciplined, and he has a black belt in BJJ. Whereas Marvin Vettori is a fighter who likes to fight in the pocket. He likes to throw the straight left, and he always likes to fight on his front foot. He tends to bite when his opponents try to feint him. When on his back foot, he likes to lean back to avoid strikes and will reach for the clinch if his opponents try to pressure him. He tends to telegraph his straight left and doesn't check leg kicks. He likes to go for driving single leg takedowns where if he doesn't get it, he grabs the other leg, turns, and drives his opponent down. He has great scrambles, and on the mat, he is more comfortable on half guard. And lastly, he has great cardio and is very durable. Jim, what do you think of this fight? And who do you think wins the main event?
Yeah, this is an interesting matchup and definitely has title implications, right? You talked about Costa being big for the division. Both of these guys, I believe, are the two biggest guys in the division as far as walk around weight after a fight. I think they both come in around like 212, 215. I'm surprised. The first thing that stands out is the numbers. I'm surprised that
Yeah,
that Costa is the underdog, and I think it's just because that layoff, right? We haven't seen Costa in over a year. I think the last time
yeah.
he fought was September 2020, because he's pulling out of all these fights, and he drank too much wine
We
against
had we
Izzy.
had the running joke that Kelvin Gastelum was his replacement in every fight.
Yeah, he was like the great value Paulo Costa because he would just show up and just fight. But I actually have Costa winning this fight, and I think it's because of all the points that you made. I think he has one. I think he has a lot to prove in this fight because he said some pretty disparaging things about the company, how he can make more money on Twitch. Also, subscribe to our channel on Twitch. Costa is going to stand in the middle and try to put Marvin to sleep. He's not going to sit there and wrestle with him, right? Marvin's going to look for the takedown. Costa has good takedown defense. He's a BJJ black belt. You go back to when Costa was on the rise, those matchups with Yoel Romero, who was arguably the best wrestler in that division, and he
Yeah,
held his own against Yoel. Some controversial, splits there, but he held his own. I see Marvin really struggling to get Costa to the ground. This isn't Derek. This isn't Kevin Holland. This is a bigger man that's carrying a
Yeah.
lot of weight and who's also carrying a lot of power and uses a variety of kicks. So struggling to take Costa down is going to lead him to try to keep this fight standing. And he's going to be down, I'm thinking like 2 rounds to 1, entering the fourth. So he's kind of going to have to try to go out on the shield a little bit. And I actually see Costa knocking Marvin Vettori out in the fourth round. But like I said in the beginning of the episode, there's still time for Costa to pull out, and this could be Vittori Gastelum. So we don't know what could happen. I hope Costa goes in there because, again, he's got a lot to prove. He is a very entertaining fighter.
Yeah.
I've always kind of been on the fence on where I stand with Costa just because of his antics. But I see him getting this win, and then I see him getting dominated by the winner of Whitaker Adesanya.
I think he's the guy that if he, like it said, if he can get more discipline, he's going to be a big time threat, because I think the way he came into the Adesanya fight,
Yeah,
he wasn't prepared, and he has the tools to beat everybody in the division because of his because of how big he is. And I think
yeah,
what's going to happen here is, I think Marvin Vettori's game plan is going to be to come in and try and take him down, pressure him, try and take him down, and just continue to do that. Because if it's staying in, Vittori's going to be, even with his background, he's going to be at a major disadvantage. Because
yeah,
I think from fight to fight, Paulo Costa has improved his boxing tremendously. And like I said, he likes this. Like, one little thing that he I made a correction on is he kind of stands on his back foot. He goes like this,
yeah,
and to kind of defend a little bit. And then he has started throwing straight punches now. And he used to be a guy that would just throw the round punch and be able to knock you out. That's kind of like the Muay Thai
yeah,
foundation of striking, is to just wear the overhand and with power. And I think he's kind of cleaned it up. He's developed like a straight punch, a jab. He's developed a little bit of skills to back that up. And because he's a bigger guy, he's able to take a lot of shots. And one thing that he does, two things, major points I think that are going to be a big factor in Paul Costa winning, is the body shots.
hmm
He likes to attack the body a lot. I think you're going to see a lot of the strikes to the body of Vettori to kind of slow him down. And the leg kick, you saw Kevin Holland do a lot of that, and Adesanya was attack the calf of Marvin Vettori. But
yeah.
you got a guy like Paulo Costa, who's not like a thin guy. He's a big guy,
He's
and he
built like an
throws.
action figure.
Yeah, he's going to attack the head, the body, and the leg with all the different kicks that he throws. It's kind of surprising that a big guy like that, he can do all that stuff with
hmm
his legs. And I feel like what he's going to do is he's going to throw the leg kicks early. And I could see a lot of kicks to the body, and then he's going to mix in the body kick with the shot to the straight shot to the body, because it's going to be very effective. Because once you do a lot of those shots, especially in a 5 round fight, it's going to add up. It's going to hurt you,
Yep.
and it's going to slow you down because you're not going to be able to shoot in very good, because you're dealing with the shots that you've already been taking in the gut. And then
Yeah.
he's going to try and divvy it up. And I think he's going to wait until later on. I don't think he just. I could see him throw everything in the kitchen sink early, but I feel like he's not going to. I feel like he's going to
No.
kind of attack the points, attack the body, attack the legs, because he's not going to check him, slow him down, and then in round 3 or 4, that's when he's going to throw the kitchen sink at him, because then he's going to have him slow down a little bit. As long as he can defend the takedown, I think he might get taken down once, but for the most part, I think he's going to be able to defend it well because of his build and
Yep.
the way that he stands. He's already on his back foot, so he's always going to be kind of prepared to defend it, to get in
Yeah.
his stance to defend it. And that's when I think he's going to hit him and knock him down. Maybe he knocks him out, but maybe he knocks him down and you get a surprise submission attempt by Costa uh, because of the big build of Vittori. You never seen him go up against a guy that is bigger than him.
Yeah.
and Costa is the type of guy that can do it. And we've always said Costa has the tools, but he needs to be disciplined. He needs to just focus, and I don't think he did that in the fight against Adesanya, and that's what hurt him. He came in nonchalant and he lost. And I think at the end of the day, I think I got a round 4 knockout for Paulo Costa over Vettori.
Nice. Same page again. What's interesting about Paulo Costa? Number one is his size.
Yeah,
Again, built like an action figure. I would love to see what he would do at light heavyweight if he makes that jump. That it's a declining, top 10 there. You got some older fighters, Anthony Smith, Dominic
actually,
Reyes, who are kind
I
of.
I actually think it's a rising top 10
Well, I
because if
mean,
you
not like declining in the sense of like they're bad fighters. I'm like talking like old, like Anthony Smith has had a lot of wear and tear. Still
yeah
dominating people, but like you look at the number one contender going up against a champion, it's Glover Teixeira. You
yeah
know what I mean? So like, what if Paulo Costa beats Vettori, gets dominated by the winner of Whitaker and Adesanya? Just move up.
I could see that because you've seen Yoel Romero do the same thing because at one
Yeah,
point he was there in middleweight and then he moved to light heavyweight. Even had a fight in heavyweight and then moved back
yeah,
down the light heavyweight.
yeah,
And him and Paul Costa have a similar thing. So it's something to consider, and he has that build that he could do it, and he probably could easily cut the weight better than he
yeah.
does here in middleweight.
To 7 pounds.
Yeah, I'd be interested in that, but like I still want to see that Paulo Costa, Robert Whitaker. I think that has potential right there because I feel like him and Adesanya. I feel like he's always going to be not be disciplined against him because he feels like that he should win, and he
Yeah,
never puts it together. And I feel like Asa is always going to do what he does is fight from distance, and
yeah. And he was
unless
embarrassed by Adesanya.
yeah.
He
Even though
Adesanya thrusted on him after he won. You know what I mean, like a dog.
yeah,
So that image plays in Costa's head.
if Costa was able to be disciplined and not do all the antics like he did last time, I think he would put in a 360 fight difference in the second fight against Adesanya than he did in the first.
Okay.
And I think this would be the first step though to show that is him coming in, being disciplined, not throwing the kitchen sink early, attack the open spots, wear Vittori down, and then attack him when there's a little bit of wear and tear on Vittori because Vittori
Yeah.
has the open spots there to do that. It's just that Vittori is always so successful against his opponents with his wrestling,
Mm-hmm.
and he's always able to hide his weaknesses because of that because he's the bigger guy. But this is the one fight where he isn't the bigger guy, and he's not able to just ragdoll his opponent down. I think that's where the advantage goes to Costa, and he should be the guy that wins. But if he can't, for some reason, he can't stuff the takedown, then it's going to be a long day for Costa because I think Costa, if Vittori can take him down, that's where Vittori can hold him down and just get control time on him. But I don't
Yeah.
see that happening. I see the fight standing up, Costa defending the takedown well, and then getting the knockout eventually in round 4.
Well, I'm with you. Honestly, the last two fights were on the same
Yeah.
page, but for some reason, the odds makers don't stick with us. They're not riding with us on this one, so it's an interesting one to see. Maybe that enters your DFS, but we'll have to wait till later in the week. But that's awesome, man. I'm glad that we're on the same page with a few of these fights. Usually, we kind of differ. This is cool.
But before we get going, I just want to let you guys know. Please send us your comments and your fight picks on this video. We
Yeah.
want to know who you think is going to win this Saturday and what you think of the picks that we have. So definitely send us your comments and your fight picks in the comment section below, so we can compare them and contrast them to us. And of course, as always, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on the channel and hit the like button. We'd appreciate it if you hit the like button here. That's a big thing with YouTube channels these days. And as always, tune into all of our stuff on the Fighters First Network. And just like he said, look forward to the DFS by Cage episode coming in the next day or so. You never know. One of these people in the main card could be on my lineup this week. You never know until you check out my video, DFS by Cage episode 6 coming this Wednesday or Thursday. But do you have anything to say before we get going?
Yeah, two things. Subscribe to my podcasts, the Active Geek podcast and Galaxy Wars podcast. And I think when we're talking about tough fights, the toughest fight is the YouTube algorithm. So
Yes.
hit the bell, hit the thumbs up. That really goes a long way. We want to continue to bring fantastic MMA content to anybody, whether you've been in the octagon or this is your first fight that you're watching. So subscribe, like, buy our shirt. It's super soft. Maybe I'll fly to your house and say hello. I don't know. But yeah, just follow the page. Dan works his ass off. And I just show up on Thursdays, but follow the page. It's good stuff.
Yep, and then I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, High Tide Herbal. All you gotta do is use promo code CageByIQ10 at checkout to receive 10% off your next purchase. Of course, HighTideHerbal.com is a company owned by coaches and athletes who specialize in speedy recovery. All the products have CBD oil in it, and then the purpose of this company, of course, is to help athletes recover faster. So if you could use promo code CageByIQ10 at checkout to receive 10% off your next purchase. But of course, that'll wrap things up with this week's UFC Fight Night, headlined by Paulo Costa versus Marvin Vettori, the preview show with yours truly, D. Bake and James DiLullo. We will see you guys next week as we preview the UFC pay-per-view in Abu Dhabi, headlined by a barnstormer of a fight between Glover Teixeira versus Jan Blachowicz. So as always, we will see you guys next week, and we will talk to you guys later. But thanks for tuning in.